You know, in all seriousness, I knew that going into this it was going to be bad, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. Happy holidays, everyone. I'm ThatGuyMatt, and welcome back to my channel. I am posting this a little bit later than I expected to because I've been very busy throughout the holiday season, but regardless, I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and if you don't celebrate it, hopefully you just had a good day in general. But for the meantime, we're going to go ahead and jump back into another movie review because this would be fun. And after all, who doesn't love a good Christmas outrage, right? So before I actually get into my review, I want to quickly give another shout out to my good buddy Chris Brock, who once again, just like the angel that he is, accompanied me for a first time watching of this movie. But for what it's worth, I just want to say, Chris, thank you so much for watching this and enduring this with me. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this, shall we? Now, it should go without saying, but if you've watched my channel, especially if you watched my last year's review of it, I absolutely love the original Black Christmas, and consider it to be not only an iconic horror slasher, but one of the best of its time. It was a film that capitalized on atmosphere rather than gore and blood. There were kills, obviously, but it was a film that prioritized being scary and atmosphere-filled, almost like the original Halloween. So when it came time to finally watch Black Christmas 2019, as I'm sure you'd expect, I heard many terrible things about it. Everything from people saying that it was a terrible remake, to saying that the cast was terrible, to saying that it was a woke film, to saying that just in every way, shape, or form, it was a complete misfire and just did not represent Black Christmas whatsoever. Is all of that true? Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know what it is, but the lighting of this movie is like almost giving me like a Hallmark Christmas kind of look to it.
Yeah.
Very glossy, very... I guess that is kind of fitting for the holiday because Christmas is very glossy and kind of like uplifting, but it also just kind of gives it off like this like weird like cheap vibe to it. I don't know.
I don't want to try and repeat what other reviewers have said, but yeah, Black Christmas 2019 is just a god-awful remake. So what exactly is Black Christmas 2019 about? Well, it's about this group of sorority sisters, and you would guess it, they actually are stalked and killed by a group of masked assailants, and they're trying to figure out who they are, why they're doing it to them, while also trying to figure out a way to stop them before their numbers dwindle down to zero. That's putting it lightly because really the core of this movie is this group of girls throughout the entire hour and a half explaining to the audience in great detail why men are terrible. In every way, shape, or form, this movie is a complete misrepresentation of what Black Christmas was supposed to be. I'm not exactly against the idea of a remake wanting to do something new, but I think it also has to retain some of what actually made that original film so good. Like John Carpenter's The Thing, for instance. A film that still maintains what made The Thing from Another World so great while also doing its own thing and following more closely to the source material. However, when it comes to Black Christmas 2019, while it does retain some of that DNA from the first movie, calling this thing a film is actually a compliment. Because this does not feel like a film. It feels like an hour and a half long seminar disguised as a horror film.
Okay, you humiliated those guys up there. Of course they're pissed.
And that gives them an excuse to harass us?
What if a bunch of frat bros had gotten up and sang a song about how, I don't know, women were just bimbos who like to show off their tits, then yeah, you'd be livid.
It's a little different, Smidge.
How? Why are you allowed to say all this shit about men and we're supposed to just sit here and take it?
Because men have all the power.
I had to sit through this piece of shit one time, okay? I watched it one time with Chris, and I have not seen it since then. And I watched this movie with him about 2 weeks ago, and that's frankly why it took me so long to get to this review, because I just did not want to actually have to sit down and talk about this piece of shit again. I think there's probably like one thing about this movie that I actually like, and it's mostly because of the main actress, Imogen Poots. I actually do like this actress quite a bit. Of course, I recognize her mostly because of 28 Weeks Later, and I loved her in that film. And it's not necessarily the actress's fault for this, but the movie itself is just bad, and I'm trying to be generous when I point out positives. So Imogen Poots, that's the one positive I can give this movie, is the actress herself. Everything else is just straight downhill from here. So when it comes to talking about this movie and the plethora of negatives that it has, the biggest problem with this movie is, like I said, it feels like a seminar. It feels like it's being directed at, you know, the audience specifically. It talks about how shitty men are, how toxic they are, and like how horrible they are. I wouldn't be opposed to listening to a message like this, but the thing is that both parties here, both the male and female counterparts, they're both shitty for different reasons, so I can't really get on either side. Yeah, the men in this movie, they fucking suck, of course. But the female leads, they're not that much better. They act very bitchy and whiny and complain a lot of the time, and oftentimes they actually will get up on stage and basically deride their own audience that came out to listen to them sing and perform and whatnot, and they put on this really cringy showcase where they sing a song and they talk about how terrible men are, and it's just so goddamn terrible.
See, it's unfortunate that like it's this type of behavior that I feel like leads women to like think this type of thing, like where like they think all men are like this, right? It's like when you play GTA, for instance. Like everyone in GTA is a piece of shit. Doesn't matter if you're a woman or woman or man.
Yeah, true.
They make fun of everyone. Everyone gets shat on in GTA.
The main characters are supposed to be relatable because they went through some very traumatic things involving men and how they were shitty to them and they took advantage of them both physically and emotionally. And like, I want to connect with them in some capacity. Yeah, like the men in this movie, they suck, but I also want to relate to them if I can. But the thing is, no one in this movie is likable. Not even the female leads are likable.
When I first watched this movie, I felt bad for the main girl. But then the movie just kept going, and I'm like, okay, I was on board, but like, can we talk about anything else but this? Like anything in life, like if you keep talking about that one thing, eventually it's gonna, get on people's nerves. Like, okay, what else about you? Like I support your cause. Give me something that feels like Black Christmas, along with strong females.
Another problem I have with this movie, of course, is the actual kills. Not only are they lacking on the gore, but a lot of them are just complete cutaway kills, and they're done terribly. There are a couple of interesting camera angles involving some of the kills, but for the most part, they just lack any and all tension. And you might be thinking, like, what's the problem with that? Especially because the first film didn't show a whole lot. The reason why the lack of kills and gore in the original film worked so effectively was because they prioritized the atmosphere first and foremost. There was blood and gore in the first movie, and there were a couple of kills, but that wasn't the main purpose. It was about building atmosphere. There's just no tension. I'm not feeling any tension because, again, these characters are just so terrible that I don't feel for their situation whatsoever. The characters in this movie have almost no personality and have no characterization beyond their very basic archetypes. None of them are likable, none of them are memorable, and like I said, I can't even remember any of their fucking names. I mean, granted, it's been about 2 weeks since I've actually watched the damn movie, but that really should go to show that, like, I can't remember a single one of these characters' names. Now, of course, we're gonna go ahead and get to the ending of this movie, and spoilers, if you don't want to be spoiled for this movie, don't watch this movie. But if you don't want to be spoiled, then just skip ahead. So throughout the entire movie, Cary Elwes is actually one of the professors in this movie, and as soon as I found out that he was actually in this movie, I thought to myself, like, oh god, please don't let him be the killer. That would be way too obvious, wouldn't it?
Oh, Cary Elwes.
What are you doing in this movie?
Is that you, Zep, you bastard? I know it's you, you son of a bitch.
And while he may not have been the main killer, he was definitely the one pulling the strings in the background, where he actually was organizing and orchestrating all these guys in this sorority row to go after and kill all the women in this row and basically treat them like property. Again, the guys in this movie, I agree, they're shitty and they're very over the top, but Cary Elwes takes the cake in that, and that he has no subtlety when it comes to his performance.
And it's very difficult for me to do my job, teaching the curriculum, which does happen to contain many white male writers, when there's a petition circulating to have me fired.
You know, this is the same problem that I had with Saw 7 when he actually was in that movie. Again, spoiler for Saw 7 if you haven't seen it. Cary Elwes comes back as Dr. Gordon in that movie, and it was very obvious from the get-go that he was involved with Jigsaw going forward. You can't bring back a character like that after 7 films and then have him be this over-the-top person in the background and not expect him to come back in a significant way. This is the same problem in Black Christmas 2019. There's just no subtlety to his performance, and I was able to pinpoint him as soon as I saw him. I'm like, yeah, he's the fucking killer. And not to mention the cult here, I actually don't like the way that they go about with their killings here. Like, they use some type of, like, hypnosis or type of manipulation to actually get the men to kill on their behalf. And I'm just like, wouldn't it have been far more interesting if the men were just committed to this and they actually just wanted to kill because they actually believe that they are alphas and they believe that they actually are the dominant species and stuff like that? Wouldn't that have just been far more scary? Because it actually would have been very cult-like and almost religious-like because they just simply believe that they're better. I'm trying to think of anything else to mention because, like, the movie is just so forgettable. Not only is it a bad movie, it's just a terrible remake. Again, the original Black Christmas, while being dated in some aspects, was a phenomenal horror film that got you with atmosphere and a lack of gore. It worked in the same way Halloween worked. For all intents and purposes, Black Christmas 2019 is a film that just simply piggybacks off of that beloved IP while really adding nothing new to the formula outside of this generic woke concept. I hate using that term because the word woke has basically no bite to it anymore. Everyone uses that word, and I feel like it has no meaning to it anymore. But this actually is a film for once where I actually agree that it actually is woke, and it's done terribly.
You are a traitor.
You're not a woman, goddamn you.
Like I said, this is not a movie. This is just an hour-and-a-half seminar that's disguised as a horror movie. That's being generous. I used to think that Black Xmas from 2006 was a really bad remake. It took a lot of creative liberties with that first film and did it in a bit of more of a modern way, and some of it I wasn't really a big fan of. But when I actually saw this movie now, I actually think it makes Black Xmas look a lot better in comparison. I still don't love Black Xmas, but I think it's actually a much better movie than 2019 in every conceivable way. So when it's all said and done, Black Christmas 2019 is just a bad movie. It's a bad horror movie, a bad movie in general, it's a horrible remake, and it's a film that I never want to watch ever again. I guess there is actually one positive though, and it makes me want to go back and revisit that original film just that much more. Guys, thank you so much for watching my review of Black Christmas 2019. I would be very curious to know, do you guys have anything positive to say about it? Do you actually like this movie? I would be very curious to know. Leave any and all comments down below. I would love to discuss this movie with you guys. I also want to just take the time to thank you guys for the wonderful support you guys have given me throughout the year. I do want to apologize for my inconsistent upload schedule as of recent. I used to post about one video every single week, but I've been very busy with work and other things IRL. So hopefully 2026 I can actually turn that back around and start posting more regularly. I would love to do that very often. You guys have been absolutely wonderful, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and until next time, this has been That Guy Matt, and I will see you guys all in my next review, whenever that will be. But until then, I hope you all take care.